single arm cable Y raise. I like to set this up sort of at or below hip height, depending on sort of where I'm aiming to raise, right? So again, as with all other variants, you want to set the height of the cable before you actually sort of figure out what you're doing, or just take a guess, experiment with a light load. With all cable lateral variations, I like to load with a D handle on the back side of the wrist, right? So I'm not actually grabbing the handle to make grip a limiter to have to manage all this forearm stuff. I'm actually looping my hand through and then letting the loop sit on top of the wrist. This is for a lot of different reasons, but the main benefit, in short, is just that you don't have to worry about any kind of forearm fatigue or elbow fatigue, which oftentimes can end up limiting output, so, and comfort. So I'm just going right into this. I got my anchor here on my opposite arm. Make sure I'm shoving against it, especially as I initiate the motion. And I'm not worried about getting to the top half of the range where there's going to be a lot of trap stuff. Just focus on the middle delt. So again, when I set this loading direction, this whole motion is potentially a really long, wide arc, right? So it can arc from here all the way until my arm is in line with my body. But you don't really want to be sort of using that back end of the range if your goal is middle delt. And if your goal is middle delt, you also want to be loading sort of where your arm is in front of the body. So notice how the cable is pretty close to 90 degrees to my arm at the bottom. And then as I raise up, the cable will get closer to my body, right? The cable getting closer to my body makes the load drop off in terms of the rotation on this upper arm. But it also, at that point, just really wants to translate my whole shoulder girdle inward. So you get a lot of trap sort of in this top 20%, which is fine if that's your goal. But if you want this to be mostly a middle delt fatiguing exercise, just use like that first 70–80% of the range where you're just kind of moving in a straight line inward to outward, where you have a significant amount of loading on the delt. So for this last set, what I'm going to do is a little bit of a fun drop set. Don't necessarily try this at home. You'll see what I mean. So just go to failure like we were doing before, so you can't move out of the bottom. And once you do that, move the cable loop up right below the elbow and just kind of go through the same range. Go to failure. Oh God. I'm gonna move it up just for the last one a little more. I like to turn a little away. Okay. So as you bring the cable closer to the joint, think moment arm decreases, right? So torque on the shoulder decreases. So you can, keep lifting, fun mechanical drop.